diving into another Genesis study tonight. Uh, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We're doing the entire Bible from cover to cover,
Yeah.
every chapter and every verse. We're going to be doing our commentary, our read along. We're diving into conspiracies. We do it all over here, man. As long as God permits us to do it, we're going to keep putting the work out. Today we got on X. We started doing our Twitter X. If you're up to date, it's X. We're on there now, and we've received a lot of love so far. A couple of followers. Things are doing well on YouTube. We're really getting this thing pushing, and I'm really excited about it. So, if you're watching this, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. We try to do a lot of things for people, man. We're gonna do a lot here in the future, going into conspiracy icebergs and debunking Christian conspiracy and all sorts of good stuff down the road. So if you're on X, follow us, and I think that's about it, man. I'm ready to get into this thing. We've been putting in a lot of work trying to get together. Austin, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing awesome.
Good.
So glad it's the Sabbath and we can get together and do our commentary again. Also, we have our video dropping real soon about the bill that just passed. So just look for that. And it's a little spicy, so just caution.
Heavy hitter.
It's nice. It went really well, and look forward to getting it to you guys real soon.
Yeah, that's right, man. We had a good time doing it. So tonight we're on the fourth chapter of Genesis, my man. We're going to be getting into um, Cain and Abel, and a lot of this is a lot of people know about this stuff. This is not names that aren't famous by any means. Even people that aren't Christians know a little bit about Cain and Abel. Um, so without further ado, man, let's just go ahead and start reading. You good with
All right,
that?
let's get into it.
Let's do it, man. All right, so here we are. Genesis 4, chapter 1. And Adam knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground.
All right, let's stop right there for a minute.
Cool.
So in verse 1, it says, Adam knew Eve, his wife. Now let's look at that word knew.
Sure.
Let's see the connotations that carries.
Okay. We have the word is yada, is your pronunciation. And if you can see that, I've got it pretty zoomed in. We got to know, to learn to know, to perceive and see, find out and discern, discriminate, distinguish, to know by experience, to recognize, admit, acknowledge, confess, consider, to be acquainted with, to know how, to have knowledge and be wise, to cause to know, to make oneself known, or reveal oneself. I think reveal oneself is that's a really romantic way of describing that. But it can be used in a variety of senses, figuratively, literally, euphemistically, and inferentially. So most people, when looking at these words in the Bible right here, based on just context, would say that this has to do with conception and laying with your wife.
Yeah, it has to do with sexual intercourse. Can we get some of the examples of that being used?
In the Bible, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's used a lot of times. So obviously the first one is in Genesis 4:1, where Adam knew his wife. You have 4:17, where Cain knew his wife. 4:25, where Adam knows his wife again. It happens a lot of times in the Bible, and that's just in Genesis. But
so by the third time that Adam knew his wife, do you think that he was already acquainted with her, so he wasn't just meeting her over and over again, like for the first time, like 51st dates?
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, so
Exactly.
you're saying that that was them, having marital sexual intercourse, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. When you see new can be used in other ways too. Like we would see down the road in Genesis 37:33, he knew it. That code is a different code than new. New in your Strong's Concordance for your Bible nerds out there is H3045. And then this other one for the example I gave in Genesis 37, that's H5234. And that is to recognize and acknowledge, to regard and observe. He knew it, you know. So there is a little bit of a difference there, but
Okay, I just
just
wanted to point that out.
yeah, for sure, yeah,
A
um,
lot of people say that believe in the serpent seed theory and believe that Eve slept with the serpent and conceived of Cain. We've talked about this before, and I understand where a lot of them are coming from because of the curses we talked about last week. But the curses the curses are sexual in nature for Eve, for sure. So I understand where they're coming from, but this 4:1 blows it away. Um, Me and Bronson have talked a lot about how we'll consider something. We'll sit on it. We've talked about it with the let's just say preterists, for lack of a better term. We sat with that for a little while, come up with verses, and came to a conclusion that on a biblical basis. So with the serpent seed theory, we did the same thing, and this is the verse that really just blows it out of the water. It's plain. And I know people use the Targum, and like I said, we went into it. But if I'm going to be a Bible believer, I have to believe what the Bible says. And the Bible says Adam knew Eve, his wife. And in a biblical sense, that's having sexual relations. And right after it says that she conceived and bare Cain. So, I mean, to me, that lays that to rest.
absolutely. For anybody listening that might not, maybe they're new to this, or maybe they've never heard of the serpent seed theory. What is that?
Just like I described, believe that when it's talking about the fruit that they weren't supposed to eat of, it was like in a sexual nature, and that Eve slept with the serpent and became pregnant with Cain. And they reckon that, and that's just on a basic level. There's lots and lots and lots of things that go into it. It's not just a surface level thing. It's a whole, they have a theology about it. Um, and some of it's, I understand where they're coming from. I do, and so I don't want to, just beat them down. But I believe that there's a different way to look at it.
Yeah,
So I believe Genesis 4:1 takes that out. Like I said, I don't want to beat them over the head, but Genesis 4:1 to me just takes it out. If we're going to believe the Bible, we have to believe the Bible.
right. I agree with you 100%. It's more common than what you might think for somebody that may be raised in a traditional church and American is what I should say instead of traditional, an American style church. There's more people than what you might think that are out there that believe this serpent seed theory. And like Austin said, it's more than just, oh well, Cain was the offspring of the serpent and Eve. It goes deep. If you watched our Genesis 3 episode, we touched quite a bit on the seed war is what we've coined, that the seed war. And
Well, we're not the first to coin that, but
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
more, yeah.
yeah. But that seed war is it goes a long way when you look at either Cain being a descendant of Adam and Eve and Cain being a descendant of the serpent and Eve. Just that one little fact or touch or opinion changes your entire perception on the possibilities of what the seed war could really entail. So
Well, I will say this too, for people that, I hold the Book of Enoch in pretty high esteem. If you do, there is a punishment for an angel, no matter what form they take, sleeping with a human woman, and it's to be bound in the pit
right,
until the day of consummation, is what Enoch says. So
absolutely,
uh, that was not the punishment for the serpent. So if you hold Enoch in high esteem, that would be another reason to not believe the serpent seed theory, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just using basic reasoning, but maybe there's more to it that I'm not seeing. But I've studied it pretty deeply, and between Genesis 4:1 is enough for me. But in conjunction with the punishment not being the same, and God's supposed to be the same yesterday, today, and always. So if that was going to be the prescribed punishment for that, then
we would have
I
seen.
feel like it would be some consistency there.
Yeah, we probably would have seen that listed in the curses of Genesis 3.
Unless the judgment was taken into account and not just the sleeping with the women, but also the destruction of the earth. So it was even a heavier one. So I guess you could make an argument either way, but to me, it would make sense that the judgments would match for sleeping with women because that's abomination. You remember, when it talks about on Mount Hermon, they said, man, we're going to create a great sin. They knew what it was, and the sin was to sleep with the women at the time. They knew the judgment was going to be heavy for that. They knew it. That's why they entered into the oath.
Yeah.
So that's just a thought there. But I wanted to point that out early on for when we get down the line. So if you want to go ahead and continue, sir.
We'll add more to that as we go. While I'm getting back to
Cain's going to be a central feature tonight, guys. So just buckle up.
Yeah, absolutely. While I'm moving this stuff around, if you've never gone through the Book of Enoch, I'd highly recommend checking it out. I'm not saying you got to get it tattooed on your forehead, but there is some really, really neat stuff in there that's it's not going to hurt you. There's a lot of people out there that they'll watch all sorts of movies and music and certain things that might not be good for your soul, but then you tell them about this Book of Enoch, and for some reason it's like, oh no, if I read that, I'm gonna get mind controlled or possessed or something. But
yeah, honestly, for me, it colored in a lot of things, and I say it all the time. I went to Christian school, was in Awana programs as a kid. I did rebel later. I haven't always been a saint. I swear to God, if you can't tell. But it just completely colored in a lot of things I was confused about and uneasy about. It made the Old Testament make a lot more sense. I don't know. For me, it helped me in my spiritual life tremendously. Just coloring some things in that that you really study. You see things like the foundations of the earth. You see things like the stuff in Genesis 6 we'll get to 2 weeks from now, which is going to be super fun. I love that stuff. So it colors in a lot of that. It colors in a lot of the stuff with Joshua and the wars, and So for me, I would highly recommend it. It just brings a lot of value. As long as you understand it's not in the Bible, and there is additions to it, but it has been around for a long, long, long time. And at the least, even if you don't want to, buy into it as much as someone like me does, which I understand completely, that you can at least use it for understanding the mindset of the people at that time. There's so many Son of Man passages in there, and that's what Jesus called himself more than anything else, Son of Man. And this is confirmed. The copy they found, it goes back to 300 BC, I believe. So way before Christ, 300 years before Christ. And all these Son of Man passages seem to be pretty prophetic. Jude quotes from it, and that was Jesus' half brother. So to me, I find a lot of value in it. About a lot of things. It's a deep book.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a page turner too, man. It's one that is actually really, really exciting to read. It encapsulates you. It gets you going, and you don't want to put it down, type of thing.
For sure.
So
and you got to read and reread because it's like, oh my goodness, what did he say there? Hold on. Let me go back and check this out. Okay, now what does the Bible say, man? That lines up. Okay. Right. And just keep doing it. It just keeps happening, especially early on. So check it out, guys. Definitely.
Check it out. Lots of Jesus prophecy. All right, let's get into Genesis 4, verse 3. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth. If you're not a KJV guy, wroth is just another word for anger. He's upset. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. If you're not familiar with countenance as well, KJV, countenance can be your appearance. I suppose a new agey person would almost like your aura about the person. You can see when someone's sad or they're upset. You'll see that a lot as we continue down our study, that word countenance. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
Okay,
If we can take
let's
go ahead.
stop right there.
Go for it, man.
I'm sorry, brother. Let me. Can we look at that verse, chapter 4, verse 7, and let's check out. I prefer the KJV, everybody, but let's check out the NLT translation of this right here, just to translate it into layman's terms.
Gotcha. Let me
It's a little hard to tell and rule over him, but let's just put it into layman's terms because the KJV is a little confusing right here. I just want people to get a clear picture of what's going on.
Sure. So
Maybe
4:7.
4, 5 through 7, please.
Sure. NLT. But he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. Why are you so angry? The Lord asked Cain. Why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right, but if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master.
So I hope that just clears that up a little bit because in that verse 7, it's like, hold on, what exactly are they saying there at the end? You know what I mean? I can see how that could be a little confusing. Go ahead, sir.
Sure. There is a lot of what's the word? Not confusion, just questions about this offering that comes in here. There are some things that we see right here in Genesis 4 between some differences between Abel and Cain. We don't, as the reader, have specific instructions on what an offering should look like just yet. But Abel brings the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof. And yeah, you do see that a lot during the Levitical priesthood. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with what Cain brought, I don't believe. I mean, we see first fruits, we see sheave offerings, wheat offerings, grain offerings. There's more than just animals being brought here. I'd just like to point out that the difference between Abel's and Cain's offering here is that Abel brought the firstlings of his flock. This is the true first fruits of his flock here, and that is a very big difference. Austin, if you'd like to talk about that for just a second, there is a verse out here later on in the Bible that gives a little more clarity to the differences between their offerings. I just have to find it real quick.
I have always wondered what was wrong with Cain's offering.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they have two different almost professions, for lack of a better term, right?
Yeah.
Did Cain not bring the best of what he had?
Right. This is one verse that again, man, if you've been watching any of our videos, Hebrews is, man, what a good book. But this is just a place where you get to see a little extra. This is why I don't think it's enough to read just one book. You got to read the whole Bible because you can pick up on some things. Just the other night, we talked a little bit about the sacrifice of Isaac, and there's just so much that you don't get if you just read Genesis and you leave out the rest of the book. There's more clarity. But right here in Hebrews 11:4, by faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. God testifying to his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. We see that there's a difference here, that Abel offered the excellent sacrifice by faith. And so Cain doesn't get that attributed to him. I don't know what to attribute that to Cain. Cain may have brought the sacrifice by necessity instead of by faith. He may have brought it begrudgingly. Who knows? But we do get a little more clarity here in Hebrews 11 when we see that Abel's gift was offered to God with faith. And so that does give us a little more separation between his sacrifice and Cain's sacrifice. And I just wanted to point that out because this is something that most people, when reading, do question. Is like, well, what did Cain do wrong? But do you have anything to add to that, or do you want to keep going?
I don't. If we don't have any other verses, I don't know what to say because I can't. I could speculate, but
Sure.
without any kind of confirming verses, then there's not much I can do with that. And I've always wondered it, But let's just stick in Bible and some trusted, non-canonical sources, and let's just stick with that. I'm sure there's a lot on the esoteric level, and I'm sure there's a lot on the Gnostic level, and there is a lot. But let's not poison this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. While we're here, we were talking a little bit about Cain and Enoch earlier, and some of these giants and whatnot. When we're looking at some of these things, make sure I've got the right one up here. There is a place in Enoch where we learn about these giants and these creatures that were offspring between angels and humans. And so we're just going to put one last cherry on top of that serpent seed doctrine of Cain being offspring of the serpent. But it says, from the souls of whose flesh the spirits, having gone forth, shall destroy without incurred judgment. These guys end up becoming ghosts. And it looks like I've grabbed the wrong chapter here, but that is okay. We'll get back to that later on.
Yeah, we're going to cover that in a couple of weeks anyways. But yeah, it says that the disembodied spirits of the giants are what demons are, and that they roam the earth. So Cain would be a disembodied spirit. It'd be a giant, or if it's a serpent, it would be some kind of a lizard-like humanoid, and maybe that's where people get that stuff from. But I mean, Genesis 4:1, to me, is just enough.
Yeah,
it's plain language. It's something that's used over and over again. The phrase of knowing their wife. I don't think there's anything else we really need to say about it. If it comes up, if somebody says something in the comments or anything like that, we'll answer it. If you want to point out something about the serpent seed doctrine you think is of value, we'll check it out. We'll get back to you on it. But as far as I'm concerned right now, from what I know and from what I've seen, Genesis 4:1 seals it. And then on top of that, the punishment for Enoch with the angels.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to me, it's sealed. Scripture says what it says. I don't see anything funny there. And when we look through the Strongs and we look through Brown Driver Brooks, I don't see anything funny there that could be interpreted another way unless you really, really, really stretch it. So to me, Genesis 4:1 is just the deal sealer.
Right.
But yeah, when you read Enoch too, I mean, when you go through it, it seems to be that way too.
Absolutely. All right, 4:8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me.
I have questions.
Okay.
All right. Just so everybody knows, we are biblical cosmologists. I just believe what the Bible says and exactly what it says. I don't believe anything extra. I use the book of Enoch to color it in and give me a better idea of what it is. But that's just it. So when you tell me something, let me ask you something. Where is my face? It's right here. You can see it on the outside, right?
Yeah.
My face. The face of anything, the face of the building is the front of it. It's what you see. You're not inside of it yet. You're looking at the face of it, the fascia, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So when it says that he's hidden from the face of the earth, he's driven from the face of the earth there. It says a lot of things. I'll be in the earth, in the earth. He says it twice, that he's hidden from the face of the earth. It almost makes you wonder if Cain was driven underground.
Yeah. Absolutely, it does make you wonder. And I think there's a lot going for that theory. Evidence, whether you want to call it circumstantial or not, I do think there's a lot of evidence to go into that. I'll read that one more time just so
Yeah, let's leave that. Just guys, try and pay attention to what where it's saying. It just says it like this. I don't. It's not anywhere in the scripture it says that, but there are caverns in the earth. It talks about it in Enoch, and it talks about it in several places in the Bible. In the earth, in the earth, in the earth. Sheol. There's a lot of underworld references.
a lot.
And Enoch, there's tons of chapters. 17 through 36 is about basically the inner earth and Sheol, which is
Right.
one of the words for hell used in the Bible. Okay, so it's just funny to keep saying this in the earth, in the earth. I'll be hidden. I'll be driven from the face of the earth. Is that the correct words?
Yeah, yeah. I'll read it one more time. He
Yeah,
says,
yeah. Let's go through it one more time, please.
so Genesis 4:10, and this is God speaking to Cain. What have you done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her seed, her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me.
What do you think about that?
I mean, it sounds like he's, being cast off from the. Okay, if I were to play devil's advocate, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot, but I would like to hear your rebuttal towards this.
Okay.
A lot of times people, and I don't mean to be condescending when I say it, the Bible is just it's just poetry, Austin. It's just metaphors, and you know what I mean. He's driven from the face of the earth. In our day, man, we say banana things, like we just say things that are just wild. I'll bleach you to a pulp. That would be
Yeah.
that's a really hard thing to do. And you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'll beat you off the face of the earth, man. Like that's, you know, we say things sometimes that are hyperboles, but I don't think the Bible does, man. I really don't. When God tells him that his curse is, you can put a seed in the ground and it's not even going to grow any fruit for you. I
Yeah,
really
when God's saying it, I think that's exactly what God means. I believe he says what he means.
agreed. So just take that away if you want to just harp on that for a second about this. I think we have to be really careful about what we call poetry and what we would just call this is the word of God, because how far
Let me
does it go?
let me point out something here is when you're talking about the Old Testament and you compare the Old Testament to all the other texts from the region, from the Levant and the Middle East and the Fertile Crescent area, the Bible stands out alone in the fact that it's written like a narrative. Everything else is written like epic poetry, but the Bible is written like a narrative. And the greatest Hebraic and ancient language scholars agree on that, secular and Christian alike. It's written like a narrative. So it's not telling you, especially the creation story, it's not telling you some flowery thing. The Bible will say something like, as a, like a, behold a parable.
Right.
Now there are turns of phrase.
Sure. Yeah.
Michael, not Michael, but E.W. Bollinger, right here, Witness of the Stars. E.W. Bollinger wrote the book on biblical metaphors. You can go check it out, but almost all of them have some kind of a explanation to them, or where it explains what the parable meant. The God's not the God of confusion. Typically, you'll know, and the face of the earth may be a turn of phrase. I'm not saying that he definitely went into earth. I don't know. I want to ask God all kinds of questions, and believe me, this will be one of them. There would be a lot. No, I'm a very curious person, but I can't definitively say this. Now, as we go further along in this, we'll cover a few things, and we'll explore this topic a little bit more and look into it and just see maybe what some of the possibilities are. It's kind of a fun side quest, but I can't, definitively say. But
Sure.
it does say, in the earth, I'll be driven from the face of the earth, which the face would be, the ground where God can see you, according to the Hebrew mind. So he'll be hidden from his face, he'll be hidden from, driven from the face of the earth and be in the earth, he says 2 times. So it's a possibility. I do believe there's a lot of things under the earth we don't know about. There's tons of tunnel systems everywhere, and we'll get into it a little bit later.
Absolutely, yeah. And when we get, yeah, you're right. We'll get a little more into tunnels later. I was gonna say something that'll wait. I'll say this instead. This part here where it says that you will hide my face from thee. We did this a couple of episodes earlier. I can't recall which episode it was, but we kind of went down the road a little bit of what that looks like, of God hiding his face from you and how he hides himself from your sin and how it's not something that he really even wants to see or look at. I just thought I'd point that out there. It's just the Bible repeats itself over and over again in certain phrases and certain terms. And, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let the truth be established. When you see these terms being repeated over and over again, I once had a teacher told me, when we were taking notes in class, he said, whatever a teacher says more than twice, more than once, when a teacher repeats himself, that's the note you take, because there's a reason why he's saying it over and over again. And so I think this gives us some insight into God's personality, the way that he interacts with us, the way that we interact with him, our relationship with him, the dynamics between the two of us, between creator and creation, groom and bride, if you will. And so when we see these things popping up, I think it's important to take note of them and just consider that when you're bringing your whole theology together between sin and righteousness and how God views that type of stuff. So
I'll tell you how it was explained to me as a child. The reason God hides his face is because sin disgusts him so bad and he can't tolerate it. He hides his face out of mercy so he doesn't destroy us.
I think that's what the Bible teaches too.
It's a mercy thing, but he despises sin. So keep that in mind. And you see the way the world is going. He despises sin. He can't be a part of it.
Absolutely.
So I posted something on X earlier. Go check it out.
Yeah. All right. You want to move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So he says that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Man, that's crazy, bro. I thought it was just Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel on the earth. Who's that's going to kill him, bro? That's pretty weird.
Yeah, it'd be really weird for one of his family members just to kill him. Yeah. Maybe it would be for revenge, some people might say, but He's being exiled, right? This is already after he knows he's leaving.
Right.
He's being driven from the face of the earth. So who's going to kill him? So if it, say it is the inner earth thing, who's under the earth? Oh my God, yeah, that could go crazy. But just
Right.
say it's east of Eden, like it says. Who's there? He's being driven out because of something he did. We don't see any other murders before this. We don't see anything like that. So this is the second sin that we know of in the Bible.
Right.
Okay. So he's driven out. Nobody else has been driven out. He is the oldest anyway, so if he's still there, most likely any siblings he has at this point, besides Cain because he's dead, or besides Abel because he's dead, would still be there around mom and dad, right?
Yes.
So who's there?
Gotta wonder.
Let's go back to the Genesis 1, the first one we did. Go back and check that out. We may be putting out a remix version of that coming up here tonight, tomorrow. Tonight's going to be a little late, but tomorrow.
It'll probably be tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, tomorrow sounds good, man. But check that out. We go into that in depth, but it's a little hard to believe that man and woman that was created on day 6 and then the Adam and Eve narrative are the same thing. There had to have been someone else, out there. And we'll see a little more evidence of that as we go along here, but who would be there killing him if there was nobody else?
Right. Gotta wonder. And the
I mean,
Lord said
it has to be an explanation there. Do you have to have an answer to this?
Yeah, gotta be.
The best answer I can come up with is day 6 and day 8, whenever the day may have been, that it had to be 2 different accounts and 2 different happenings. So definitely go check out that Genesis 1 video we did, guys.
For sure. We go into that and we got a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
When he says unto God that everyone that findeth me shall slay me, God doesn't tell him, you're just being a whiny butt. Nobody's coming after you. The Lord says unto him, we're in verse 15 if you're following along, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. This is quite the identifying mark that if anybody sees him, it's like, oh, that's Cain. Don't kill him, or you're gonna be in big trouble.
You wonder what that is.
Oh yeah, you have to, man. Have you ever looked into that, or you got any ideas on what that might be?
There's been a lot of things, a lot of racist things too, or what so-called racist things. Who knows? Who knows what the truth is about it? The Bible doesn't say, so I don't have anything that's concrete that I would believe on. I trust in the Word of God, basically, guys. So you're not going to get me confirming a whole lot that's not in the Bible in everyday life. But the mark of Cain is interesting. I've always wondered about it. I actually did some research earlier, and the only thing that I learned is apparently Adele is a lizard, and she shapeshifted in New Zealand. So that was about as far as I got. I said, you know what? I don't see anything incredible here. I'll revisit this later. Maybe I'm missing something. Hey, leave it in the comments if you know something about the mark of Cain, something that would help us out. Drop, message us on Twitter. Drop something in the comments. Let us know, and we'll definitely look into it. I just wasn't finding a whole lot.
Yeah, I've never really seen a whole lot either. Some of the things come from, some texts like Jasher and Jubilees, which are just, some other books that are out there. That doesn't necessarily mean it's written in concrete or by the hand of God or whatever. But some people were saying that,
firm in your faith, check them out too. Check them out too if you're firm in your faith. You know what I mean? Trust in the Word of God above everything else. But if you want to check things out, some people say Jasher's, a Pharisee book, and the real book of Yashar is Jubilees, and there's a lot of different things to it. I always say just take it to God, take it to the Holy Spirit, trust in the Word of God, in the books that we can confirm, and just just stick with that the best you can, but always read the other books. And a mark of an intelligent mind is being able to consider something without believing it.
Who's that?
Man, I tell you what, dude, Rob Skiba had some of the best lines ever. Love him or hate him, and I know a lot of people don't like him.
I thought that was I knew that line. My brain went Nick Testament.
No, it's not him. It's not his line. He was using a quote from somebody else, but man, it's a good one. And I've used several things with Skiba in the past couple of episodes. Just words mean things. I mean, it's such a simple but honest statement, especially when you're dealing with what actually is being said here. Because going from Hebrew to English isn't easy.
Yeah.
And just trying to understand everything and all the concepts and why some translations say something this way and why some say this way and why are there verses missing out of the New Testament in some and there's all there in the other. There's a lot to it. So, yeah.
One last thought in regards to the mark of Cain. This mark was a symbol, whether we, physical, whatever. And it does mean something here in the Bible that this mark was a symbol that whoever should slay Cain is going to get 77, right? It's not going to be a good time for you, or excuse me, 7 times avenged on you. And so this mark here, I just want to point this out for the people out there that love to say, oh, that God of the Old Testament, that racist, genocidal, bigoted God of the Old Testament. And then you have the God of the New Testament who's just, hippy dippy soft guys, just love everybody, bro. You Christians are polytheistic, you know that? Even here, man, even here, when we're talking about Cain, the first murder, God's putting a seal of protection on Cain. It's a threat to anybody. It doesn't remove free will. It doesn't say that you can't kill him. It's just saying if you do, this is what happens to you, because Cain's punishment wasn't death at this time on the physical realm. Cain's punishment was to be separated from his people. It was to be a vagabond in the earth. Cain's punishment was that if he tried to grow food, it wasn't going to grow for him. His life wasn't going to be a good time. And if anybody did find him, they weren't going to be happy with him. And so he already got his punishment here. But I do want to point out that whatever this mark was is in some way, shape, or form a sign of God's grace. So
I will say this, though. Imagine, why would people kill him just by seeing him out? How would they know that he did what he did? How would he know? There had to be something different about this bloodline of Adam than there was from everybody else. They must have looked different. There must have just been something different about him. Why would they just attack him? He had to have been different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's something there. And then there's something with the mark. There's something there too. It doesn't mention things for no reason. So I'm not telling you to not do your research. I'm just telling you I don't have good answers for you. If you could find the good answers, please let us know. I mean, we love this stuff. So I don't have any good answers for this, but there is something there. So there's a mystery. There's a mystery there. Guys, get out and solve it.
Absolutely. There's lots of fun ones, man. I'll throw out a random one just for funsies. I heard somebody say one time, and they pulled a couple of resources together that mark was he was going to be a hairy man and almost animalistic, the way you sing King Nebuchadnezzar gets cursed for a little while, acting very much like an animal. Eating grass because he couldn't grow his own food, which is crazy because that's what Cain was doing originally, was growing fruits and herbs, and that's what he tried to sacrifice, and that's what gets taken away from him. So they made him like a beast, and kind of like Nebuchadnezzar, and that's just who knows, man, who knows. But there is an answer out there, man, and you might not find it on day one, but you're gonna find something every time you look, and you'll just keep on learning. Let's get going.
I've heard people say that they made his skin like white and ruddy. I've heard a lot of different things, man. He was like almost like you can see the veins through their skin white, like see through, so white, and would get real red real easily. So there's different theories on it, what the mark of Cain is. Some people even try to tie it to like he became like a vampire. There's all kinds of wild ones, man. There's some that are like, and that's where black people came from. They put the mark of Cain on them. You know what I mean? yeah, dude. So there's all kinds of theories out there, guys. I just don't subscribe to any of them wholeheartedly because I don't know, and a lot of it gets to a lot of ridiculousness. There's a lot of fan fiction. That's why I tell you, like, please, go look into it. If you have something that's solid, definitely share it with us. I think we got something in Jasher that we're showing later. That
Yeah.
that describes something. We're going to get through this Genesis first, and then we'll go back to it because it's I believe where everybody that's in the story is references at the end of this chapter anyway. So we'll get to that in a minute. So just hang tight, and we will cover some more Cain. Try to give some clues and maybe look at some of this hollow earth theories that have come out about this and some of the phrasing that's there, and just look at some of the possibilities.
Agreed. All right, so the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out of the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife. Where did she come from? And she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. And we're going to get into some
Now,
begets here.
I do want to ask you something.
Mhm.
Now, is this the Enoch that wrote the book of Enoch that we've referenced several times?
No, this is not
That
the
who it's called after?
No, it's not. It's a great question, and to clarify on that, there's two Enochs, just like there's lots of Jehoiadas in the Bible, and there's Rehoboams and Lamechs. There's lots of people in the Bible with repeated names. This Enoch of Cain, the son of Cain, is different from Enoch, who's the seventh of Adam, and I'm glad you asked that, just to clarify that.
And when he says seventh from Adam, the seventh of Adam, that means he's the seventh generation from Adam going down. And then Enoch would be, and that's how we'll refer to him a lot of times, is Enoch first of Cain, or Enoch seventh from Adam. And there's two different Lamechs as well from each line. So you just got to keep that in mind too. Sometimes one will be referenced and the other one just, I hate to be so black and white with it, but you got the good side and you got the bad side. You got good Enoch and bad Enoch, good Lamech and bad Lamech. And you have the line of Cain, you have the line of Adam, his father, coming down next to each other. So there's, I mean, Adam was his father. That's what Genesis 4:1 says. So there are similarities. But the further you go down, the further it goes, where it's just one side is wicked and one side is following in the ways of the Most High.
Yeah. I'm glad we got to clarify that, because if you're not familiar with Enoch, that may have been a question.
You're absolutely right, though, that some of the things we said we need to slow down and just, not take it for granted that everybody knows everything. Because, there was a time that not so long ago where we didn't know anything at all.
Right. I wouldn't have known half of that stuff. I would have had to back up 3 or 4 times. What did he just say? All right. So, and unto Enoch was born Irad. Irad beget, guys, I'm going to butcher this, okay? This is just, this is my warning label for don't cancel me. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad beget Mehujael, and Mehujael beget Methusael, and Methusael beget Lamech.
Good
Lamech,
job.
yeah.
Just get to Lamech. Just get to Lamech.
Get this a sticker. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Adah bare Jabal, and he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and such as have cattle. I don't know about you, man, but my first time going through this, this was so interesting to me, learning about these different peoples and tents and stuff. It just, I don't know, there's something about it when you read it, you're like, man, this is so much more than just poetry. And Adah bare Jabal, he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jabal. He was the father of such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called
Well,
his name.
can we stop right there real quick?
For sure.
All right, so there's a whole lot of names there. We kind of just went by it fast. Could we cover Zilla and Tubal-Cain? Can we cover that one more time, just so everybody can get that? And then let's listen to what Lamech says. Okay, listen to that right there, and then let's go to Jasher and listen to that story there, because it seems like it connects right here, because it says out of nowhere it talks about he killed a man.
Right.
So what Lamech?
Right.
Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? There's no hi, there's no nothing, there's no description, there's no plot. Just, oh yeah, I killed a man.
Yeah.
With no description.
Right.
So a lot of times in the Bible, when they just drop something on you with no description, it's because it's been covered someplace else.
Right. It's almost like assume you should know it.
Yes. When it drops something real heavy on you, like when it says, "Oh, Enoch walked with God, God took him," and then that's just like, what do you mean God took him?
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Right.
Well, you're supposed to know this because the information at the time was very available. Everybody knew it. So you're supposed to already have that information. Unfortunately, nobody was there for them, what they would have with us, to be like, hey, dude, could you explain some stuff? Because they didn't feel like they had to. Everybody knew. So
Right.
let's read that part one more time, and then let's jump over to Jasher and just kind of maybe get some coloring in to see what was going on here.
Yeah, for sure. So, and Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. All right, let's go ahead and break this down. I'm going to get us over into Jasher real quick. While I'm doing that, go ahead.
Let me ask you this: in Jasher, is it Lamech that this is about, or is it Tubal-Cain? I can't remember which it is, but there's a story that's real similar here, and it's almost like it gets crossed up a little bit. But this is the only story that sounds like it would be correct. So it kind of ties in here, but it's always been so weird to me in this part in Genesis 4, where it's like, oh yeah, I killed a guy. It's like, well, cool, Mac. Thanks. That was random, yeah. Okay. Well, who and why and what happened? There's none of that. It's just, I killed a dude. So yeah, man. Let's take a look at this.
So we're in the book of Jasher. We're in chapter 2 right now. We see this story coming in. Here's Zillah and them. We'll start in verse 24. I think that's a fair place to start. And she conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Tubal-Cain, saying, After I had withered away, have I obtained him from the Almighty God. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and her name was Naamah. For she said, After I had withered away, have I obtained pleasure and delight. And Lamech.
Are you screen sharing this?
Oh, I will right now. That's gonna happen right now.
I just want everybody to be able to read and follow along. It's quite a story.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so here we go. We're in verse 26 now. And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim that he could not see. And Tubal-Cain, his son, was leading him. And it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal-Cain his son was with him. And whilst they were walking in the field, Cain, the son of Adam, advanced towards them. For Lamech was very old and could not see much, and Tubal-Cain his son was very young. Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, And with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet far off, and he slew him, for he appeared to them to be an animal. And the arrows entered Cain's body, although he was distant from them, and he fell to the ground dead. So I know that was a lot of reading, but I'm just gonna,
So who was it that fired the arrow? Just so we're clear.
Yeah, Lamech shoots that arrow. Um, he's being guided by his son. His eyes aren't that great. I don't know how in the world he made that shot, but he hit it. And when it happens, Lamech, the poor guy, he just had a really bad day. And the Lord requited Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel, according to the word of the Lord, which he had spoken. Here we go. And that came to pass, when Cain had died, that Lamech and Tubal went to see the animal which they had slain. And they saw, and behold, Cain their grandfather was fallen dead upon the earth. And Lamech was very much grieved doing this. Okay? He was grieved having done this. And he clapped his hands together, and he struck his son and caused his death. And the wives of Lamech heard what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. And this is when we get into the if Cain had got 7, then whoever strikes down Lamech gets 77 times 7. Lamech shoots Cain, the grandfather, thinking he's a beast. He looked like an animal. He was super hairy, and then freaks out and is like, "Oh my God, what have I done, bro?" And when he does that, he accidentally strikes his son Tubal Cain in the head and kills him at the same time. It looks like as if he is revolting against his family here, but it's just he just had a bad day.
I believe this is where they get the super hairy thing from, right? Like he was hairy and looked like a beast or something. And that's where that comes from. But I always thought it was interesting. It's in the Bible. It just kind of just drops that on you, like, oh yeah, I killed a guy. So I think this is what that's tying to.
I agree.
Because he comes back and tells his wives, right? And you don't see. Do we see Tubal Cain again after that? I don't believe we do.
In the Bible?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Now,
if we could read the Bible,
what's that?
If we read the Bible one more time, it might make a little more sense what he's saying here to those of you who may not have heard this before. And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Remember in the other book, they thought that he had killed him, and so these wives were upset. He says, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, you two people who were trying to kill me, truly Lamech 70 sevenfold. And
yeah, so do you see how that colors that in there? It says, "For I have slain a man to my wounding." He slayed Cain, so he took upon that curse upon himself. And then and a young man to my hurt. He killed his own son, so it was killing him. So in his own hurt. So when you look at Jasher, this is what when I say coloring in, that's what I mean. Does that bring that more to life to you, Brawson? Do you think that kind of is like, does that match up?
Yeah, first time
I mean? So
I was like, oh, okay.
That's what I mean by these extra biblical sources can color in. And if it doesn't agree with the Bible, then throw it out. But in something like this, I would say that's fairly agreeable.
Yeah, it is.
And Tubal Cain, I was going to also say, there's a lot of like Masonic legends that go back to Tubal Cain because it talks about him being the first blacksmith, and he seems like to be have knowledge of some of the sacred sciences. And Namal also has some interesting things. His sister. So just for those out there who like to dig, there is some gold to be found there.
Yeah.
And at least it's interesting for sure. Whether it's true or not, I can't testify, but it's definitely interesting.
Right. You have Jubal here. He's the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. I mean, the organ is the harp too. Do not get me twisted. The harp too. Both of these instruments are incredibly complex instruments. This is not
the organ.
Yeah. Come on, dude. What? And the harp too. I mean, that's intense. It's not just strings on a piece of wood there, man. That's really, really cool the way that those things are tuned. Fun time looking.
It's also interesting to see this in the line of Cain, that these art, it seems like the arts are being developed. The
right.
blacksmithing, woodworking and metalworking are being developed. It seems like the sciences and the arts are being developed within this line of Cain.
Yeah, it is really interesting. We'll finish out this chapter, and I'll bring up a verse that we kind of looked over a second there. Genesis 4:25, Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God said, She hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. Very, very, very cool chapter. Really, really neat chapter.
It means there that where men began to call upon the name of the Lord.
Austin, I don't know. I've thought about that a lot. If I'm not mistaken, and sometimes your brain jumbles things up, there was a book, I feel like it was a King James book that I had years and years and years ago. I remember reading this, and the word Lord wasn't there. The word Yahweh was there.
Yahweh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's never really used like that in the rest of that Bible. It's just in this portion. I that could have been a dream. I could be making that up, but I have a pretty clear memory of that. And
pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I've always wondered that is because he has his son Enos, and I assume Adam's teaching him everything that he knows and everything he learned, because we said Adam walked with God and asked him questions and learned about nature and the nature of things here directly from God, is what I truly believe. And
Sure.
It almost makes me wonder, talking about the day 6 to being different than Adam creation, there being people out there for we didn't even talk about Enoch building the city. We were going to go back to that, but right there at the end, it makes you wonder if they started evangelizing. So like going out to all the men of the earth, they began to call upon the name of the Lord.
That's a neat idea. I hadn't thought about that. While you're speaking, I'm thinking about it. King James is basically all I've ever known, and I really have given zero translations the time of day other than the KJV. And so I will say that it has a tendency to use certain words in relationships to speaking with God, and I think that it's very intentional here. And I'm just speculating now. I want to make that very clear. I'm speculating here that word call could have been spoke, could have been cry, could have been all sorts of words. That word call there could mean that they were losing knowledge with things changing in the earth. There could have been some form of famine, and they were calling upon the Lord. I think that word spoke. There could have been a lot of words there other than call. And again, I'm just speculating.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm just speculating. But no, that is something that has always been interesting to me, and I'm glad you brought that up, because if you guys are watching this, you got an idea, leave it in the comments, man. Because that's something else there. You would think that Adam would have been calling, you know what I mean? Abel would have been calling. So I've got no idea about that one, man.
But it was back in the Adamic line when it said that. So I was just, you wanted to point that out there. But let's talk about where Cain knew his wife, right here in 4:17. Let's talk about this a little bit. Now, we actually got through the whole chapter pretty fast, man.
It ain't even been an hour, man. We did.
Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to do this for you guys. So let's get into the interesting things that we talked about with the hollow earth. So right here in 4:17, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. So this is Enoch first of Cain, and he built a city. So he's just now leaving and going to the land of Nod, east of Eden. So he has a wife. She conceives and bear Enoch, and he built a city. Now, who lives in cities?
People.
Yeah, but not just a couple people. For it to be a city, I mean, it's not a village. He didn't build a town. He didn't erect an outpost. He built a city.
Right.
That's
So
a lot of people.
right.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
What's the city? A lot of people. That's what makes it a city. There's a lot of people there. So when you have a lot of people, you have to build a lot of infrastructure and buildings to house people, and so you can move food in and out. So and resources in and out and be able to move around the city. So yeah, I mean, to build that's what makes it a city is having so many people. So to me, it just makes sense when we talk about the Genesis 1 video we did was day 6 and the Demic account that there's something else going on there. I see. I
Right.
love Genesis, man. There's just so much going on, and it just throws so much at you. You know, I'm just thankful that for all the bad things the internet brings, at least we can be able to have the resources to find this stuff out and to look up. What was Lamech talking about? He killed a man, and well, where did this come from?
Right.
Where you could just be like, oh, let's check in Jasher. Let's see what's going on here. Let's check these other books. Is there any other references? Ask Google.
Right.
So you could just find it like that, and look how much it colored that in. That was awesome. So.
Yeah.
He also named the city after Enoch, and I've seen this tied in by other people. We're not the first to do this. This isn't groundbreaking, but I thought this was funny to pull up. Could we pull up? This is in Mexico, and this is right where Mexico City was. This was an ancient city here that happens to have the name of Enoch within it. Would you like to give that a go at pronouncing, Bronson?
Yeah. Here.
I believe.
Say it again.
Tenoctitlan?
Sure. I'm gonna try a different one. Tenochtitlan. I don't know, man. I wouldn't know how to pronounce that. Um,
I believe that's Tenoctitlan. Just looking at it, that's what it seems to be to me.
you're right. I'm just being silly. This is also known as Mexico Tenochtitlan, was a large Mexican Altepetl, and what is now the historic center of Mexico City. The exact date of the founding is unclear, but let's take a couple of pictures here. Let's just take a look at it.
Yeah, let's look at some images of this place.
Yeah. Pyramids. So
Here, can we get one of the pictures blown up so we can check it out?
let's get one that's not an artist rendition. Let's just get just.
Yeah, look at that. Pyramids. There's pyramids everywhere. Pyramids in Egypt, pyramids in Mexico, pyramids in America. There's pyramids all over the world. China has some huge ones.
I think India's got some too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, some of the architecture in India is just gorgeous. But I thought we would just point this out. It does have the name of Enoch still in the name of this ancient city, and we talked about him being off the driven from the face of the earth and be a vagabond in the earth, and he'll be in the earth. A lot of people think that there are worldwide tunnel systems, and you got to wonder if maybe he was driven out and he went out through a tunnel, and this is where he came out of. He went east out of Eden and came out here. It's an interesting theory.
It really is. One of these links here is calling it the Mexican Atlantis.
Yeah,
that's a neat way to say that.
That's a hefty title, isn't it? And Mexico
Sure
has
is.
a lot of ancient structures there, man. So for
Sure.
this one to hold that title, that tells you what it is. It's a heck of a structure. They say the older the structure that it is, the more complex they seem to get.
Right.
I mean, just look at it, just beautiful, man. Just and the fact that it's still standing today, anytime you're talking about anything that old, I mean, it's impressive with the Roman Colosseum, but I would venture to say that this probably goes back way further than that.
I would assume that's correct. This pyramid here, you had brought up some tunnels. This is titled. This is out of the Smithsonian Magazine.
I do want to point out too. This is not the same place. This is a different place.
Yeah, right here.
It looks similar. It starts with a T and then a T and then an E, but it is Teotihuacan. That's the best I got, guys.
That's I'm not gonna try. So we've got again, this is not Conspiracy Weekly. This is the Smithsonian Magazine. This is titled, if you're listening, "A Secret Tunnel Found in Mexico May Finally Solve the Mysteries of Teotihuacan," however you would say that. I've got a nice, pretty picture here of a pyramid with all sorts of these. Can you see that pretty good, Austin?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all sorts of these almost look like snakes. This is
Well,
caption. Yeah, this is
I was gonna
caption.
say, read what the name of what the pyramid is.
This is the temple of the plumbed serpent.
The
And it's
plumed serpent.
excuse me. Yes,
For anybody that doesn't know, that's like the feathered serpent or the winged serpent. And in the Bible, it talks about the seraphim being the fiery flying serpent. So that would be a winged serpent as well. And when you look at the gods of Mexico, Central and South America, you have Quetzalcoatl and what's the other name for him? Saxawaman is one of them, I believe. But they're all these serpent gods and flying serpent gods and sky serpent gods that these people worship. But also, you see the tunnels. There are tunnels here. There's tunnels and there's caves and there's all kinds of things here. So, the theory does have a little bit of precedence. Do you see anything interesting in the article you'd like to read?
The Gomez said suspect. Let's read that better. As Gomez had suspected, the tunnel ran approximately 330 feet from the Cuadadela to the center of the temple of the plumed serpent. The hole that had appeared during the 2003 storms was not the actual entrance, but lay a few yards back. This had been, according to them, intentionally sealed with large boulders nearly 2,000 years ago. Whatever was hidden inside of that tunnel was meant to stay hidden forever.
Yeah.
So isn't that it's just funny whenever you look at these things, man. And I know you're just like me in this regards. I can spend countless hours on YouTube just looking at the megaliths, just any old crazy structure that doesn't appear to be natural. There's all sorts of really neat things that are out here, man, and these things interest me a lot. These pyramids, these. My first question is, who moved those giant boulders? How'd they get them moved? How heavy were they? It's the strange, dark, and mysterious. it's
Yeah.
it's something else here. I had pulled this up too. This is enormous caves that radiate out of the center of the Grand Canyon, spokes like wheels, full of artifacts. There's a lot of stuff out here that you can find out about caves that, like Austin was saying, go deep underground and seem to, you go in one end, you pop out on the other end of a country type of thing. And I don't want to get too deep into that and go crazy because
let's do this, man. Coming up, everybody, let's do an ancient structure. Let's do cover some of this. We can cover some of the things found at the Grand Canyon, some of the conspiracies there, and a lot of things are named funny at the Grand Canyon. Named after a lot of Egyptian gods, the Temple of Ra, the Temple of Isis. Why is it named that in the Grand Canyon? You know what I mean? And then you have all the rumors of the Egyptian artifacts found, and I believe there's some newspaper clippings of that. So we can get into a lot of that, man. And we can also do a lot of the ancient structures. We could do Easter Island. We could do Petra. We could do a lot of, because I love that stuff too. We're brothers, so we're cut from the same type of cloth. I love that stuff.
It's countless hours of fun. There's a lot of speculation. I'm just showing some megaliths on the screen right now. I mean, it's just swarming with mysteries. You know what I'm saying? If Austin knows that I love the Japanese martial arts. I've been studying it for about 12 years now. And there's a place in Japan with this stone, man. It's a long, big old stone. It kind of looks like a hot dog, but but it looks like somebody took a giant samurai sword and just cut down that thing 3 or 4 times straight down the middle. And that's light work compared to some of these other megaliths. It's just things that don't make sense. You know what I mean? And that would be fun, man. We should totally do a series on that. But that's just
I know the first one we're gonna do.
sounds good.
I'm not even gonna say what it is. I don't want to give anybody any kind of heads up, but I will give you a clue. This place has some of the most ancient megalithic structures in a small area. I believe the most in the world, what they call dolmens. So just a sneak preview for what's coming up. I think Bronson knows, but we'll do some research, and there's a lot of cool images we can pull up, some clips from some documentaries we can show, and it's very, very interesting. I think that we'll do it maybe the same week in conjunction with Genesis 6. I think that would tie in good, man. So we will be visiting some of these ancient sites and talking some more history and doing some things like that coming up, because this world is so interesting. It has such a colorful and sometimes dark, but sometimes really, really light past too. There's a lot of beauty in the world. Our modern architecture just doesn't hold a candle to it. It's just honestly, it's disgusting compared to a lot of it. When you start looking at the ancient structures, I mean, even looking at some of the cathedrals in St. Petersburg, it's like, oh God, man,
Right.
Great. They're going to call me a Russian agent now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's great. I was going to mention some of the Celtic buildings, the way some of these stones fit together with no mortar and built into the ground on like a dome, almost like a Hobbit style home. There's so much.
Well, we're going to be looking into a lot of that on what I'm talking about. We'll talk after we wrap this up, but yeah, we'll be looking into a lot of that. Did you have anything else you want to point out about Genesis 4 while we're here and just other part of the archive?
Absolutely. I don't want to beat a horse to death here, but this word nod, if I'm not mistaken, remember this is for those of you listening, Genesis 4:16. Cain went out of the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, that's spelled Nod, on the east of Eden. If I'm not mistaken, this land Nod means something like the world of dreams or something like that, right?
From what I know, it's commonly thought of as meaning wandering.
Let's see. Yeah, wandering. Yeah, wandering with an A, by the way, not an O. Wandering. And this is the land that Cain went to. The land of wandering. That's just it's almost like an Alice in Wonderland type of location. There, just sounds so neat. The land of wandering. But I don't think there's any other place in the Bible where this place Nod is mentioned. Do you know of any?
I don't. There's a few times that places are mentioned that don't in a few different books that aren't mentioned again, and you wonder. When we get to Genesis 6, once again, there's another side quest. The Genesis 6 may have to be a 3-part series. There's so much there. There's so much speculation, but a lot of it you don't have to speculate with. There's quite a bit of text on it and writings on it and history, and oh boy, we can tie it into a lot of the modern day things too. So I'm excited to get into that. I'm excited to get into Genesis 5 as well.
Yeah, me too, man. It's the whole book's just awesome, man. It's just so cool. You ready to go beneath the surface and talk about the Hollow Earth a little bit?
Let's talk about the Hollow Earth, sure.
Let's do it, man.
I'll tell you what, man. Let's do a standalone with the Hollow Earth.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's make a shorter video for that. We've talked about Genesis 4 and some of that. If you're interested in the Hollow Earth video, we're going to go ahead and record it now, so I'm sure it'll be uploaded somewhere around this. But definitely, if you found this video interesting and you liked it, like, subscribe, all the stuff they tell you in the other videos, do that here too. Support us and get the word out. Share the video with anybody who is like-minded or interested in this. And we do this every single week. We come with cover a chapter of the Bible and go through it line by line and point out all the interesting things and try to give you a well-rounded understanding of each one of these, and to give you some rabbit holes and some little nuggets you can go dig for yourself. So just for me, I want to let everybody know I love you. Be praying for us. Be praying for everybody, and we're just glad to be doing this, and I'm glad to be doing it with you, man. I love you, bro.
Back at you. Love you too. All right, guys. Have a good night. Genesis
See you guys.